Going. Hello and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my buddy Paul Falewicz with us. Today we're going to talk about everyone's favorite subject, budgeting. Good morning, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Kevin.
So, Paul, I think about all my jobs, and the one thing that most of us don't like doing is budgeting because we're afraid we're going to be wrong. So let's start with the revenue side. I'm sure you have with your clients. How much would you like to see revenue increase next year? A lot? Is that an answer, Paul? Can I just say a lot?
Yeah, you can say a lot. That's just not going to really get you anywhere. So, you have to have some sort of concrete number. Again, a budget is kind of a template. It's not the Bible. It's not the final end all thing that's going to happen. So the budget is kind of where you want to be. And again, we learned this back in 2020. The best budget in 2020 got thrown out the window the minute the pandemic happened. So you have to be able to adjust that budget during the course of the year. You have to be able to work with the reality of really what's going on in the world and in your industry, really specifically at that point. So the budget is a good template of her starting point, and you want that revenue to increase. What that number is, 10%, 100%, 1,000%, that can all be worked out, and you have to figure out where those sources are going to come from and make sure that that's actually going to be attainable and, kind of a goal that you're shooting for during the course of the year.
So, Paul, I find two things on revenue side. Either we put it so low we can just step over it, or we set it so high that you're like, okay, Kev, so you're going to grow your membership from 200 members to 2,000 members. Maybe, but how are you going to get there? Sometimes we're just too overly optimistic and we put ourselves in a spot we just can't obtain it.
I've seen both sides of it. People that like to have that under budget so that they hit it so they can pat themselves on the back in March when they hit their goal for the year, or a stretch goal, which is, as you said, 2,000 people over 200, and you're just never going to get there. And obviously you're down on yourself because your business isn't growing, but you look at it, you did double your revenue. So everything should be happy. Everything should be great. I always try to take that reality side of it, that you want to have a consistent increase. You have to know during the part of the year where you're going to get the increase. So if you're like a Christmas type of business, at the end of the year, you're getting the majority of your revenue at that point. So the first 9 months of the year have to be kind of quiet. That final quarter is going to go through the roof. So you have to have some reality that comes into the revenue numbers and find where that hot button topic is. But you can have two budgets. You can have one that's an under and one that's a stretch. If that's going to motivate half your team and motivate the other half of the team, that's fine. But you have to live somewhere in the reality in between.
So, Paul, let's flip it over. Let's talk about the expense side. So I remember I started my business, I think it was like October, many years ago. Christmas morning, I dropped my $800 cell phone and broke it. Paul, I thought I was going to cry because back then that was a lot of money. I'm like, oh, that's going to kill profitability next month. And I find a lot of us we don't budget for the expense side. We're like, there's going to be no increases, Paul. I'm not going to need any new equipment. Not going to have to spend any extra money on anything. That's unrealistic, right?
Yeah, it's very unrealistic, especially in this day and age. Equipment is upgraded so quickly, so easily. The efficiency you can get from an iPhone 5 to an iPhone 14 that's out now is immense. So you definitely want to make sure that you have some sort of budget in there for technology upgrade. You don't need to blow it away, but you should have some sort of line in there that says, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars next year on technology upgrades, because things are happening so fast on the technology side, computers, phones, tablets, whatever you're using at that point to do your day-to-day stuff. If that thing breaks, it is a lifeline right now. So my computer, I just upgraded last year. Put it off for a couple of years, but then I got to a point I didn't realize that I was spending 5 minutes watching the thing circle and actually not getting as much work done as you should. So for a couple $1,000s to upgrade that computer, I'm probably made, 5 or 6 times more of that money of just sitting there and watching that spin on my computer. So you want to make sure that you have the latest and greatest. You don't need it the minute that it comes out, but you need to have the line in your budget in order to catch those things so that, again, it's efficiency. Sometimes it's not money, but it's efficiency for ways to make more money on that bottom line.
I like where you just went with that, with efficiency, because we all get to the point where we should consider outsourcing things, our books being one of them. But we get so focused on the money, like, well, geez, I could hire Paul to do my books, which seems like a good thing, but there's an expense involved. But again, I always try to focus when I have this conversation with everyone, Paul, how do you make money? And that's what you should be focusing on, especially if you don't like doing your books. And a lot of people really, surprisingly, Paul, don't like doing their books. So that has to get factored in too, the expense of maybe outsourcing something that allows you to increase your time building revenue, right?
Again, I love the people that don't like to do the books. That keeps my business going forward too. So we're going to like those people all the time. But in reality, if you're good at building a product or using your hands and manufacturing something, the last thing you want to do at 10 o'clock at night is try to figure out what that profit margin is. Where you spend your money during the course of the day. That's why the outsourcing comes into play, and it comes in for a lot of different sources. It's basically things that you're not good at, or things that you feel like someone else can do much more efficiently for you. I know for a fact that I can close someone's books quicker than someone who doesn't have that accounting background. It's not a brag thing. It's it's a reality thing. The same way that somebody could fix a flat tire quicker than I can because I'm not an auto mechanic or have that savviness on a car side, which is why I go to someone that has that expertise. So you try to find the way that people know what they're doing better than you. It's a couple dollars out of your pocket, but it also saves you maybe 3-4 hours. That gives you time to go work in your business and go make more money at that point.
So, Paul, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more if they have some questions around budgeting or any other thing related to accounting?
Easiest way is on my website, Succentrix.com/Paul Falewicz, or you can reach out to me via email, paul.falewicz@Succentrix.com.
Paul, I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to call into the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thanks again.